Indeed, technology has made life very easy for us, very convenient for us. What would take in the previous days for a letter to reach now is sent and received within a few moments. So technology has really speeded up the process. It has made the world a global village. It has given us, unrestricted access to many parts of the globe and also many aspects of other people's life and also our lives. Now we are going to be joined on the line by Maulana Ashraf, who is currently in the field, and he has been in the field of technology, and he has served in this industry for nearly 3 decades. What he specializes in is the human behavior, understanding the human behavior, why people behave the way they behave, and more specifically understanding it from today's interview is from the technological perspective, from the devices, from the gadgets that we are so hooked onto. Maulana Ashraf, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to Radio Islam International.
Wa alaikum salam to Maulana and the listeners. Shukran for having me on the show.
What a different age and era we're living in. And I mean, you've been in the industry for 30 years. 30 years seems a long, but from a technological perspective, it's quite new because, I mean, you're looking at the 1990s and 2000s, there was barely any devices around of this sort. And then you had the new entry of the phones and then the camera phones and then the color screen. In a short space of time, we've progressed so rapidly, Maulana Ashraf.
Alhamdulillah, I've been fortunate position to be in the industry since those very, very big computers which fits in a room, right until the same power or most powerful devices in your pocket. So you're absolutely correct. There has been a lot of changes in technology, of which with the networking of the internet in the whole world, now you basically have a doorway to the world in your pocket.
But with unrestricted usage and with undisciplined behavior or ill-disciplined behavior, how does this impact on our life?
So you see, the thing is that the lockdown, particularly recently, I can just touch on to that. It's something that we have never experienced before. We had to virtually overnight change our lives and basically adapt to a new way of living. Some temporarily, some permanently. So if this lockdown had to happen like 20 years ago, or the lockdown forced to have internet access shut down, we would never have experienced, we would have experienced a very different lockdown. Very often when ulama give bayans, we take an example of a knife. This knife can be used as a tool to prepare our food, cut material for shade, or many other advantages. However, it can also be used to harm ourselves or another person. So the niyat and the uses of such tool is the important part. So in internet is the same thing. During lockdown, for example, it was used to keep in touch with family members, remote schooling and madrasa, lectures and advices sent by ulama via social media because we couldn't attend to the masjids, and the talims, notices of mayyats, letters from Islamic organizations being sent, streaming of radio stations, for example, information on the COVID virus, and many other advantages it had. Without it, we would not even had known exactly like what is happening with the COVID virus and so on. However, it was also used for potential harm to our deen. Bad and false news, disagreement between ulama that was made public and gone viral, hence causing confusion among the Muslims in South Africa. The increase of viewership of films and other mediums. I mean, you can hear companies such as Netflix and so on to increase their servers and so on because there were so many people taking on the online viewing. Even there was an increase in social media activities and chats, unfortunately, between non-mahrams and many other negative users for the phone. So as much as there was positive, there was also a lot of negative. So our school-going generation, they needed activity to keep busy. They were not doing what they were doing in school. They were given the schoolwork to do in the morning, which normally gets done within an hour or so. But then they needed physical and mental stimulation. And the easiest way was to get this stimulation was from the internet access via TV, a phone, or those gaming consoles. So the tremendous increase in this internet usage actually affected some networks. Some residential internet service providers, they actually had to increase their line speeds, and they had to upgrade the clients' access packages, and some of them even came out with promotion and so on, because now from a limited internet access, people wanted like unlimited internet access, you know. So at the same time, this whole lockdown has turned many users into addicts. Internet addiction disorder. So what internet users need to ask themselves, do you play video games on the internet via your phone, the computer, or even the game console, but not normal, in access gaming? Are you compulsively shopping online, whether it's from the WhatsApp groups or whether it's from Instagram accounts, whatever it is, you're just buying online for everything? Can you physically can't stop checking your Facebook, your WhatsApp, your Instagram, and other social media, your Twitter, and so on? Is your excessive computer or mobile use, is it interfering with your daily life, your relationships, your work, your school? You know, if the listeners have answered yes to any of these questions, they may be suffering from an internet addiction disorder. Now, hold on. Just because they use the internet a lot, or they watch a lot of YouTube videos, or shop online frequently, or they like to check social media, it doesn't mean that they suffer totally from internet addiction disorder. The trouble comes when these activities start to interfere with the daily life. That's the problem, you know. You're busy with it, but you miss your salah. You in the mornings, you're supposed to be after Fajr, you want to read your Yasin, but you end up checking your social media. All that is very important. In general, you see, internet addiction disorder is subdivided into varying categories. The most commonly identified category of internet addiction, it includes gaming, social networking, constant checking of your email and online messaging. Also blogging, you know, you have these Instagram influencers and so on, they're always constantly blogging. Online shopping, and unfortunately also inappropriate internet pornography. So, some other researchers I've been speaking to, they suggest that it's not the amount of time that you spend on the internet that is particularly troublesome. Rather, it's how this internet is being used.
And together with that, what I've noticed in terms of behavioral changes is that the attention span has reduced significantly across the board. People are unable to, before they used to say in public speaking, maximum your crowd will be attentive for 10 to 15 minutes. I'm not sure if that is even the case now with the excess usage of technology and gadgets. We are living in such a world that if you are not gripped by what you are watching or seeing or speaking or engaging in, you're immediately going to switch off. How has this impacted on our attention span?
You see, the attention span that we have to mainly be worried about today is not only for the adults, but it's mainly for the children. Because the children today is where they're in a learning phase. And if you do not keep the attention span up, that means that they are learning much less than what you are learning. You know, in the old days, you would be sitting in school there and focusing and learning everything else. But now you're right, the attention span has been lowered. And why? Because they are always on these video games. And, you know, video games have been compared to what they call kiddie crack. Even online messaging such as WhatsApp, Instagram, DM, Facebook Messenger, all that has been blamed for increasing the reach of childhood bullies, for example. And even youth internet addiction has been identified as one of the main culprits behind the epidemic of even childhood obesity, you know. So what does that mean? Does that mean that because the attention of your child is being reduced now and he's getting fat now because he's always sitting in front of the TV, does that mean that the parent has to check out the phone and check out the computer? No, you can't do that, because in today's time, you've got to give them access to that computer and that phone in order for, number one, for them to keep up with the technological advances that's happening, because if you're going to lock him away in a cupboard, and he comes out, he will never be able to understand where the medium is and what's being taught at school and how this world is going through. So what do? Do you just like ban any online activities? And for you, no more internet. Let me take out this Monopoly from the cupboard now. We're only going to play Monopoly, or you're only going to read Quran or whatever. You can't do that. It's impossible to do that. So similar to how the child is going to the park to play with other kids, you'll find the good kids there, and you'll also find the bad kids there. Mm-hmm. And you'll get risks as well. The child can fall down, it can get hurt, or whatever it may be. So the secret, I wouldn't really say the secret, but one of the things that you need to do to ensure that your child has a healthy relationship with the internet and video games, it doesn't involve outright prohibition. Rather, it means effectively managing where, what, and when your children play, and that will definitely increase the lifespan of their attention, and because you're giving everything in moderation, and that's what Islam teaches us, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, the path of moderation indeed. But now the question is, how do the older generation come to terms with this? Because as you are saying, what, when, how. But in order to do that, you've got to have some background knowledge, some understanding to the whole field. But how do you draw that balance when you're not so clued up?
You see, Islam teaches us about balance. That's the first thing. Everything is walk the path of moderation. For the older people, for example, I'll give you an example, is that very often while they're eating, the phone will ring. Mm. And now they think, okay, I must answer the phone or not, whatever. You understand something. The telephone was created many years ago as a means to improve communication. And over time, with technology, instead of you can only answering the call when you're at home or whatever, they made it more convenient for it to be in your hand. However, this communication doesn't need to impose in your life and your duties. You have this tool of this phone, like I mentioned the example of the knife earlier. You have this tool in your phone, and it has to be used in the correct place, in the correct manner, and at the correct time. Mm. Just as if you receive a visitor during a mealtime. You will ask him to either come and join you to eat, or normally you would ask him, listen, please wait in the sitting room, let me just complete my meal and finish my meal, and I'll come and join you, we can talk, whatever needs to be discussed. In fact, people should actually know the real meal times. They should know the salah times and so on, which is very surprising. Very often in salah, especially like in Maghrib salah, you hear the phone ringing. It could be another Muslim brother calling another Muslim brother. When they know there's Maghrib time, how do you call somebody in Maghrib time when you should know that this brother could be reading Maghrib salah? You understand? So we should also know that what times we should be able to impose on somebody's life in order to make this phone call. But to understand something, my point is that the caller is not entitled for you to leave what you're doing to answer that call. Your meal, your prayer or family time is important to you. So don't let anyone, but by whatever means, disturb you of this routine in your life. You will have time to answer calls. And if you adhere to these self-suiting rules, you'll actually see that the callers will start seeing your pattern, and they'll know when you will answer calls, and they will know when to call you of the times that you're available. Say, for example, after Isha or whatever it may be, So business calls, for example, are handled during business hours. Keep it that way. You know that your clients, even if the client phones you after 5 o'clock, even though he has your cell phone number, you're not going to answer that call of the client because 5 o'clock is 5 o'clock. You must understand that your children, your children's guide. If you attend to business calls during a family outing or family time at home, business never stops. Your children will see this, and your family will feel that they're having their time stolen from them. So don't fall under these unkindness calls. Understand when is the time to answer this call.
Mm-hmm. Now, you spoke about the etiquette of answering the calls at the appropriate time. What other good habits that we can inculcate within ourselves as far as technology is concerned?
You see, the one thing that you must really, really understand is that in many instances, a cell phone is a virtual person in someone's life. While a husband and wife can be sharing quality time and a call is attended to, it affects the emotions built within around that moment. So it's a very bad habit to go and break that emotion and to answer that call. So when one is always on social media, whilst with another person or with a family, it means that the time with that person or family is not valuable. And the user who's checking out the social media wishes to be somewhere else at the time. There's time for social media, no doubt about it. There's time for it. But it's not appropriate to continue checking on it when dedicating a task or time with someone. So find a time and don't be rude. It's like you're not giving that person the time of day. When you are with that person, know when to put your phone away and continue with that. Just like how you would want somebody to give you the attention that you seek when you are speaking to them, this is exactly the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, Ashraf, Jazakallah khairan for your time. Much appreciated on Radio Islam International. We hope to chat to you in future again, inshallah.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khairan.